it's been a blast. So what's great about it is, we're talking about the Masters this week, and I have these relationships for guys that are on the caddying on tour, and so I've made some phone calls and talked to some of the guys about how the golf course is and what the tournament's going to be all about. And it's going to be quite interesting tomorrow. I mean, some major storms have just blown in.
Yeah, I heard they didn't
absolutely.
do anything.
Yeah, and they actually canceled it all today. Saw some video. The rain's going sideways there right now, but it's all gone by tonight.
No rain scheduled. No rain for tomorrow, but 20 to 25 mile.
30 to 40 mile an hour gusts tomorrow, and then we'll go down to 20 to 25 on Friday, and come Saturday, Sunday, it will be an absolute postcard. So these first 2 days are kind of like how the draw is going to go. Is it going to be better in the morning, or is it going to be better in the afternoon?
Right.
But one of the things that is interesting about Augusta National is it might be one of the hardest caddy jobs out there. And what I mean by that is when you get down to the middle, your second shot on 10, all the way through the back 9, the wind swirls like no other. Now you're adding 30 to 40 mile an hour gusts. So these guys trusting what the caddy's going to give them is going to be key.
Yeah.
So, Augusta's an interesting golf course because it's not just you got to hit it at that flag. You almost sometimes have to hit it 20 feet left of the hole to get it to that flag. So now you're dealing with all this wind and stuff. So the next 2 days is going to be battle tested, and it's going to be a survival thing, because if you can be within 10 shots of the lead, maybe 15 shots of the lead going into that weekend, and you get hot on Saturday, because it's going to be only 5 mile an hour wind on Saturday, and you could go out early and post and put yourself in position on Sunday, could get quite interesting. So I think we're actually in for a very, very entertaining weekend.
John, let me ask you, with these kinds of conditions, and obviously with your experience and your friendship with Paul McGinley, a European player, do you think this gives any of the European players an advantage? You're a little bit used to that sort of thing, the breezier conditions. Do you think it's an advantage, or do you think that the great equalizer is that Augusta National is just a tough course?
Actually, I think it's a great question. I actually think it is more favored towards the European player. These guys grow up in wind, and when I mean that, I shouldn't say just Europe. I mean Australians. I think they have a true chance to win here, but it comes down to ball striking. Like when you look at this, is the Americans are all now taught to hit it high and soft, and the European players are actually more taught to flight their golf balls in different types of, and again, these American guys are learning that also. Like Ricky Fowler actually is a very good wind player due to the fact that he went to college at Oklahoma State, and it's windy, very windy out there. So kind of
where the winds come sweeping down the plain.
Right, exactly. So in Texas, and so I think Spieth actually will be a good, he's brought up in wind, University of Texas, and those kids, they play in, it gets pretty windy out there. So yes and no, but I think that there's more Europeans than there are Americans that actually have played in a lot of wind. But again, when you're playing in hard wind, it's ball strikers. It's flat out ball strikers. Because I've always taught, and Paul taught me this, when you hit the ball very solid, the wind usually doesn't touch it that much. But if you miss it just a little bit, it's out of your hands. It's gone. So we're missing
one of those ball strikers, or potentially with Dustin Johnson.
Yeah, so we found out today that he slipped down some stairs last night, and he's got some back issues. And I actually haven't picked him to be a contender, even though he's number one in the world and he's won his last 3. But the way he hits the ball left to right a lot, and the great players at Augusta, and that actually means lefties, because lefties hit fades off of there. That's left to right. I think those are the guys you got to worry about. Nicklaus has always been brought up as hitting a fade, and he loved the place, but he also could hit the draw when he wanted to.
Right. So Phil's
a lefty. Bubba You know,
Bubba,
they've actually told you that they've shown it. You know, they can win there. But you know, I think Justin Rose has a great shot here. I think Justin Rose is one of my picks to win the Masters. He played very. I always like it to look at the last top 15 of the Shell Houston Open, due to the fact that the Shell has come to the guys on tour and said, we will set this up just like Augusta. So it's almost like a big practice round for those guys.
Great. Yeah,
so they could get the guys to come. So they really, it's only like an inch rough. The greens are fast, they're 14 on the stimp meter. There's wind there, fast fairways. So I talked to Paul actually yesterday, and he said it's going to go quite interesting in those afternoon rounds, because if it's blowing 40 miles an hour, those afternoon rounds, the greens are going to get very firm and the fairways are going to get very fast. So it's kind of going to be interesting on how the balls are reacting on the greens and how those guys are going to start judging their shots. So,
what do you think about Jason Day, Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth?
Well, yeah. So I think Spieth just it oodles of confidence when he gets there. I mean, and if you look at his last 3
Despite what
years,
happened last year,
right? But still came in second place, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
He made
back.
7 on 12, but he still. But I'll tell you this much: golf's a mental game, and you don't know how Spieth's going to do until you see that first shot on 12. Right. And maybe the second shot. That's always going to be in the back of your mind. Now, the mentally strong guys get through it. You know, he's saying to everybody he's been hitting it close there on it. You know, it's great. It's a practice round. It's a much different deal when you're hitting a golf shot, right? You got people all around you. And so if he starts hitting golf shots on Thursday and Friday into that, I think you're okay. He loves the golf course,
right?
And
except the 12th on
but still
all day last year. Yeah,
Jason Day to me is a phenomenal player, and I think he has a great chance. The problem is he's just had some issues with his mom battling cancer just recently. He says that everything's going great. Jason hits the ball very high and very far, and I'm just wondering about his win play. I don't know if the flight of the ball is going to be too high there for Friday and Thursday and Friday, but if he's near the lead, watch out, because he loves the place also. And I think Rory, it's just really weird. You know, Rory has always been the topic of conversation every single year since he was in contention. Not a lot of people are talking about it too much. Right. So he's kind of been sleeping. So he went there, I think, on Friday, played Saturday, played Sunday, took Monday off, practiced Tuesday. But it's been very quiet about him, and something tells me that kid's talent is beyond unreal.
A sleeping giant.
Yeah.
I think he is. But my dark horse of all dark horses is Mark Leishman, Australian guy, grew up in wind, and he's in the top in putting on the tour in all statistics. So overall putting, Mark, and he's the one that came and won at the Bay Hill and won Arnold's tournament this year, and he shot I think like 6 or 7 under in the last round. His putting is phenomenal. That's what you need. You need your speed putting and your long putting at Augusta is absolutely huge. So that's my sleeper, out there that nobody might be talking about, but and he hits it a long way.
Yeah. So we got a lot of youth, a lot of good young players on the tour, and at Augusta. Who do you think, besides maybe who you've spoken about now, who are any of like the old guard? The older guys that you think might have a chance? Well,
what's interesting is, Phil's 46, and that's when Jack won his last green jacket was at 46.
46. There you go.
So that's quite interesting, right? How that is. But and Phil is absolutely. It was on the Golf Channel the other night. Guy asked a question: what's the hardest golf tee shot at 13, and what's the easiest? And he says it's the same hole. It's 13, the par 5. He says because if you hit it like you want to hit it, the hole becomes easy. But if you don't hit it like you want to hit it, the hole becomes very hard.
It's unforgiving.
Yeah. So, and he's a guy that just breaks down every golf shot. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. He has 3 different types of 6 irons he can hit and 3 different types of 9 irons. So, but Phil is a veteran guy who's, it's all about spots for him. Where he hits it on the green is a spot. That's a flat spot. That's a flat spot. That putt's makeable. Those kind of things. But then you look at going into last year, Bernhard Langer was in the second to last group going in, and
That's right.
and the word the word on tour, that guy can still play on tour if he wanted to, but he leads almost last year. I think he led in every single category on the Champions Tour. I mean, it's just easy money for that guy. But, it was amazing. I mean, that just tells you, guys that know that he's won there before, he knows how to win there. But really, and Fred's back, Couples is back. He'll make the cut. He usually does. But I think Phil, if you're looking at the middle-aged guy, I think Phil's the only one that really kind of pops out to me that is still hungry and still hits it with those guys and those kind of things.
So nasty conditions Thursday and Friday, first and second round. What's a winning score?
Yeah, I can't. I'll tell you this much. So going into Saturday, I would be, the way that it's been talked about, I would be surprised if 5 under is leading. Okay. And that's 2 guys just grinding out a couple 2 unders or whatever. But then come Saturday, you're going to start seeing some scoring going on. You're going to start seeing, par being more like 69, you know what I mean, type of deal. Right. So you're going to see somebody possibly shoot 65, 64 maybe on Saturday. And that could be somebody out early when the greens are still moist. And there's, it's very
a little slower.
Yeah, well, it's accepting golf shots.
Okay.
And that's what happens when the wind blows. It gets fast and it gets hard, and then it starts dealing with your patience. And you're hitting quality golf shots, and they're not turning out like you want them. And that's a big thing is patience out there. Is like every golf guy out there every tour player will tell you, I'm going to make bogey. And there's bogeys out here, and there's a lot of 3-putts out here, but it's just don't make double. Right. I can get a bogey back with a birdie, right? But if I make double, I got to get 2. I'd have to make 2 birdies, and there's not that many birdies out there. There's probably on Saturday when it's blowing 5 miles an hour, there's probably 8 legitimate holes out there that are complete birdie holes. But when it's blowing 40, I don't know if I can answer that. You know what I mean? Because I'll tell you, these caddies are going to be flipping coins on yardages.
Their money.
Yeah, they are. But the player needs to realize that. I mean, it's not easy, So
hard instinct to think you know what you're going to hit out of the bag, and then have your caddy tell you no.
Right, he'll probably say, it's 160 front edge, it's 172 to clear that bunker, we're at 184, and now where's the wind coming from? And you're throwing grass up, and it's coming right into your face, and you're looking at the pin, and it's going the opposite direction. And that's what happens on the back 9 down at the bottom. Is this, these guys, you'll watch on Thursday and Friday, you're going to look at the caddy looking up at the trees as much. I mean, it's going to be crazy, and they're going to go, I think it's going left or right, but the flag's not telling me that, right? And that's the hard thing. Yeah. So when these guys are trying to reach 13 and 15 and 2, those are 4s that could turn into 6s, and that's big, 2-shot swings. So,
indeed.
But that's what so I got Rose, I got Rory, and then my sleeper's Leishman for the Masters. So.
And maybe Phil. We'll see.
And maybe Phil.
Yeah.
And maybe Phil. Yeah. One for the old guys.